But the whole idea of this, we're kicking time to the curb, but what are we going to do with it? Timing is everything in the process of planning and execution. And if we short circuit certain stages, the likelihood of other things happening that aren't so pretty, as many of you know, you take a client, you try to drag them across the finish line, it does not happen. What happens next? So let's go to the next slide. We're looking at the high dive board. High dive board, what happens? So here we are at the swimming pool. Swimming pool is fabulous. You have client number one who shows up and says, this is fabulous. I've got a plan. I do laps. It's a great lap pool. I'm taking in the scenery. I'm doing lap. I'm structured. I'm moving forward. How does that work? Terrific. Then we've got client number two who sees the high dive board in the pool and only sees the excitement and the distance, and they're thrilled, and they climb up and they go to the edge and they either belly flop, maybe it's a swan dive, but we don't know because the proper preparation hasn't been done. What happens next? We've got young man here who is hanging out on the edge, and this is an affirmation for many of our clients where they get to that place and they say, huh, well, I think this is what I wanted to do. I'm pretty sure it's what I wanted to do, but now that I really look at it, is it something that I really do want to do? Not sure. Maybe I have to take a back step. Maybe I have to climb down. Maybe I'll be embarrassed. Maybe I have to start all over again. Anything is possible, but from here. But again, timing really is everything. Next slide, please. So slow down. Are you running away or are you running towards something? So for many clients who have fallen into a business space where they've inherited a business or they graduated and sort of got some traction, something was trending at the time, they got heavily involved, they sort of executed, kind of didn't, maybe they monetized, maybe it's a 24/7 business. Anyone who's in hospitality could probably tell you at some point they've missed lots of events, lots of family events, lots of personal events, but maybe they were having great success and continued with that, wanted to do it. But we want to know, are you running away from what you're doing? Do you have a plan? Or are you running towards something? Do you need to take a hard stop? And for somebody who's going 24/7, it's very hard to come to that dead stop and then reinvent themselves on the fly. Probably doesn't work well. Next slide, please. Basic stages of change. When we work with clients, this is really important. The pre-contemplation stage that many of us have been in, there's sort of some distraction in the background, some sense, some noise, some tapping on the shoulder, some space where your attention is going in different directions, or you're so flat out, you really can't think, you're angry, you may be frustrated, may not be able to sleep well, and you're still in that pre-contemplation stage where nothing is really crystallizing, nothing is forming, but you pretty much know that there's something that has to give. Then we get to contemplation, where it's more real. Perhaps someone has been talking to you about the value of your business. A friend may be doing something that's different and not totally immersed in the industry that you're in. A coworker may offer to buy your business. It's possible that an employee is interested. It's possible that another business is interested. A vendor may have come in. Maybe it's a diner, maybe it's a guest or a client who's looking at this and sort of starts making noise about what's possible and what's next. Somebody may have purchased a vacation home, perhaps in Maine, perhaps in Kennebunkport. Someone's thinking about relocating. Is that me or could it be me? So then we get into preparation and we bring in the big guns. We start thinking about, well, I really do need to have a conversation with my financial people. I need to talk to my accountant. This is time for business valuation, time for bankers. What is really happening here? Preparation, it's important. And then of course we move to action. Is action going to be successful? Or do we ever come to that dead stop again where I'm terrified, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? So just like the baby in the background, the baby who skips crawling misses a stage and may short circuit the entire process. Many of us have worked with clients where they seem that they're going down the primrose path, everything is in place, and then suddenly something happens, their thinking changes, they've been exposed to something else, they're frightened, they don't want to do it, you can't drag them across the finish line, or you kind of do, and then what happens? Maybe crash and burn, maybe not. Next slide, please. Business sale. If I'm no longer X, who am I? If I'm no longer the chief medical officer, does that mean I'm no longer a physician? Well, of course not. That's a silly notion. But if I'm no longer the chief medical officer at Mass General, who's going to hire me to be a consultant? Who thinks I'm important? What about my ego? Is it about managing teams? Is it about managing people? Do I want less of that? Do I want more of that? Are the financials killing me? Has COVID pushed me right past anything that I could tolerate? Am I thinking about retirement? And what does retirement really mean? Does it mean stopping what I'm doing and engaging in something else? These are areas that we explore with next steps and transitions. Am I looking for more time? Is it about money? Do I want more money? And most people are motivated by, I want to change. Let's see, more time, more money, what's the balance? And in fact, is there more money? As many of you have said in the presentations that we've had before, business owners typically overvalue their businesses. They may be using those businesses as a piggy bank. And if the piggy bank isn't there any longer, what does that mean for me? Does it mean no more Maserati? Do I have to sell the other house? Can I still travel? Can I continue to do what I'm doing? That's when it's time to sit down with your financial advisor and figure out what your next steps are. Can I afford to do this? According to an AARP study, more than 3/4 of business owners who sell end up unhappy within 12 months because they find their purpose and calling post-ownership very hard. If I'm no longer the owner, if I'm no longer the CEO, if I'm not the restaurant person, if I'm not the go-to person, then who am I? Have I ever had a chance to explore really who I am? Next slide, please. Examine competing interests. Oh my goodness, what if it's a family-owned business? What do I do now? Are my family members capable? Are they interested in taking over the business? What happens if they're not? Those job titles that may exist in a family-owned company, not unlike the military, don't necessarily translate into the real world. So what does this mean for my children or my other family members? Am I throwing them to the wolves? For many business owners of family-owned businesses, it's not a bad idea to sell and then again, divide assets as necessary or reconfigure the way you're managing the business. Family members do have competing interests. What about your spouse or your partner? Are they on the same timeline as you? Do you work together? Is one person not interested in more time? Is it what else? Do I want more of? Do I want less of? For many of us, life is much more about subtraction than addition, and it's trying on different roles, different opportunities, just to see how it feels and fits. Do I want more time again? Will I have more time? Will I have more money? What about personal and professional goals? So we work with clients to identify what their values are, what they're thinking about next steps, what's possible. Do you want to work for someone? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Is buying another business a good idea? What about a dealership? Something that's completely different. Do you want to try a new skill set? Are you interested in going back to school? Not everybody is of retirement age. They may be serial entrepreneurs. So what's next? What can I monetize? What do I love to do? What do I hate doing? And what are my opportunities? Competing interests are very, very serious. And 1/3 of family businesses don't make it to the 3rd generation. Next slide, please. Exploring options. What do I enjoy? Do I want to travel? Is it hobbies? Is it time? Is your golf game going to become work? Is it a new career or is it no career? 40% of retirees return to some sort of work not based solely on finances. If your golf game is going to become work, then how do you spend your day? What are your interests? Digging deep makes people also very anxious, and we have to rethink again, looking at finances, looking at the piggy bank, looking at the value of our time and our day. How do we see our future? Next slide, please. Describe your perfect day in detail. So you could be the person on the beach with your laptop. It's time to practice it. Try it on for size. It's like a new set of clothing. Does it fit? Does it feel good? Can I kick it to the curb? Is it something that I can try on and not continue to do? It's like reading the book and after 100 pages, you say, I don't really like this, I'm not interested in this, you can put it down. So there are other options, and we help clients deal with that. They've perhaps never had another career other than being a business owner. What does that look like? What does working for somebody else look like? So 3 case studies, if you will, 3 clients that we had who had different levels and different degrees of success in their approach. In the first one, we had a great guy, owned a company, worked with him for quite a bit on what his next steps were. And he was convinced that what he wanted to do, had the dollars, the money was going to come from the business. That wasn't going to be a problem. He wanted to spend more time in Florida and spend anywhere from 3 to 6 months traveling. So when people get that out of their system, then it's sort of, okay, now what? So about 4 months, he short-circuited it, did a lot of extraordinary travel, which is what he really wanted to do. He called and said, okay, it was 11 o'clock in the morning, and he said, I've already played as much tennis as I want to play. I've read all about my finances. I've spoken to my accountant. I've spoken to my financial advisor. I've got it all down. I've got a golf game this afternoon, and I've got dinner for tonight. I'm bored. Hello, what do I do? So ultimately, we worked together, and he did open 2 smaller businesses that were businesses that he could handle. They were more lifestyle businesses than anything else. Was he going to hugely monetize them? I mean, he may at this point. I haven't tracked him beyond that point, but he was a happy guy, figured out his lifestyle changes, and made adjustments as he went along. Number 2, again, terrific client, a woman who sold her business. It happened pretty quickly. The dollars came in. She sort of said, you know, okay, timing feels like it's right. As it turned out, the timing was a little premature. Said, okay, what do you want to do next? I want to sell shoes at Nordstrom's. I said, I really like shoes myself. I really do. So I can really understand that. I understand that you're committed to this. Is retail where you want to go? And she said, well, no, why would I want to be in retail? I just like the shoes. So we got that. Okay, fine. You don't want tissues on your desk. You don't want to manage people anymore. You don't want to do that. So that's great. We know what you don't want to do. What do you want to do? Well, I really like the kind of work that I do, but I want to do it in a different way. So what she did was look around, checked in with some of her peers, and stepped into temporary kinds of work so she could get a sense of what it would be like to work in-house for someone. Decided, you know what? Circle back, not for me. Consulting makes more sense. My skill set is good. I can share this. I want to go in. I can market. I'm confident that I can monetize this. Client number 3, fabulous. She and her husband founded a manufacturing company, very successful. Husband passed away. She became the sole person, CEO, had a 3 to 5 year plan. So this is still in process, by the way. Has a 3 to 5 year plan. And was pretty clear about that, sort of thinking about the rumblings, you know, pre-contemplation, contemplation. So she's in that space where she's really open to what's next. And then some things happened that sped up her timeline that were related to family. Her family members, none of her adult children were interested in the business, thank you, God. Not interested, weren't capable anyway, didn't want to. Lovely family, but not interested in manufacturing, all well and good. So what happened? One of the vendors made an approach, and it was a significant approach, and people had been sniffing around for years to buy the business, made an offer. It sounded like it was a good offer. And so they started through the process, started moving along pretty swiftly. And then guess what? That industry started to move in a different direction. And those things that were emotionally dragging her off, and legitimately so, because they were very traumatic, sort of went away, and she got some support around that. And she circled back, and here's the dead stop. So the dead stop for her was, what am I doing? I just want more time. I'm going to allow my people who are significant to take on that role, and there will be a financial incentive for them to do so. So she's still on track, but she slowed it down. Poor timing for her, but she was able to pull back. And last slide, please. Here we go. Preparation, preparation, and more preparation. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. And for anyone who's familiar with the movie, there we go, Back to the Future, and identifying what your end game is. So we work with clients in those stages of figuring it out. What's next? Is the transition going to be about more work, less work, another career, reframing your career, buying another business, maybe a franchise, working with other professionals who can help make that decision. And that is it.